Located within the waters of the Summer Sea, along the northwestern coast of the continent Sothorios, the Basilisk Isles were named for the fearsome creatures that once populated the region. Composed of various small islands, the most well-known included the Isle of Tears, the Isle of Toads, Talon, Skull Island, Axe Isle, the Isle of Flies, and the Howling Mountain. Surviving ruins on the Isle of Tears, Isle of Toads, and Axe Isle suggest a long-lost civilization once inhabited these lands, a remnant of which might still exist on the Isle of Toads, home to a small native population said to have an unpleasant, fish-like aspect to their faces. Many of these people were born with webbed fingers and toes. The island was home to a 40-foot-high toad statue carved from a mysterious greasy black stone, similar to the material used in other ancient structures all over the world, like the sea stone chair of the Iron Islands, the ruins of Yin, and buildings of Ashai. Whatever it was in the past, the Basilisk Isles eventually became a refuge for pirates, slavers, sellswords, and murderers, where the worst of humanity might find others of their kind. Exiles sometimes fled to these islands, like the former king of the Stepstones, Recalio Rindoon, after his defeat in the Daughters' War. Earning their coin through raids and slavery, the Corsairs of the Basilisk Isles grew into a constant threat for the coastal people of Sothorios, Noth, the Summer Isles, and any ship passing south of the Valyrian Peninsula. Life on the islands was harsh and volatile, with hot, humid weather spawning stinging flies, sand fleas, and bloodworms. Many perished from wildlife and disease, and as a result, few settlements could survive very long, seeing towns like Black Pudding, Port Plunder, Sty, and Hor's Gash going through cycles where they were built, abandoned, and then rebuilt in another location. Thousands of years before the Targaryen conquest of Westeros, when the old Empire of Gis grew powerful and sent ships to explore the world, they found the Basilisk Isles and settled the city of Gorgai upon the Isle of Tears. Occupying the territory for several centuries, they were eventually defeated by the Valyrian Freehold in the Third Ghiscari War, losing the colony to their Dragonlord enemies, who renamed the settlement Gogossos, using it as a penal colony for the worst of their criminals. Valyrians allowed sorcerers to practice their blood magic upon the prisoners, with some stories claiming they forced slave women to breed with beasts, producing twisted half-human offspring. After Valyria completed their conquest of Gis, they expanded west and eventually went to war with the Rhoynar people, defeating their enemies and forcing their survivors to flee aboard 10,000 ships. Following their leader Princess Nymeria on a journey to find a new homeland, they arrived in the Basilisk Isles and faced raids from the Corsair kings of Axe Isle, Talon, and the Howling Mountain, who burned 200 ships and enslaved hundreds. The kings then declared the Rhoynar could settle the Isle of Toads, but in exchange must give up their ships and pay a yearly tribute of 30 virgin girls and pretty boys to each king. Refusing, Nymeria led her people away and attempted to settle Sothorios, Noth, and the Summer Isles before finally finding a home in Dorne. During the years of Corsair rule, the Isle of Talon became one of the most popular destinations for pirates and slavers, as its deep honeycombed caves provided a fortified refuge for many of their kind, with Barter Beach as a prominent center of trade. Many of the Corsairs who journeyed through the Basilisk Isles decorated their ships with the bloody heads of their enemies, leaving them until the flesh rotted away. Afterwards, the skulls were dumped on Skull Island as an offering to a dark god. After the doom of Valyria, when the continent of Essos erupted in a century of blood, the settlement Gogossos became an independent city-state, much like the 9 free cities of Essos. Growing so rich from the slave trade, many soon considered it the 10th free city. Yet all this success could not protect them from the Red Death, a terrible plague which tore through the population, killing 9 of every 10 residents. Those few that survived abandoned Gogossos, leaving it a desolate ruin for the next century. Though the population of the Basilisk Isles diminished greatly after the Red Death, outlaws and slavers eventually returned, with the Carthene pirate Zandaro Zor building a black stone fortress on Axe Isle, while the Brotherhood of Bones settled on the Isle of Flies. Concerned for the safety of trade ships, local powers in Essos, often led by Volantis, sometimes sent their fleets to disperse and destroy the Corsairs of the Basilisk Isles. However, these assaults were not always successful, like when the city-state of Lys sent Sathos San with a fleet to destroy the enemy, and he instead stole the ships and united the pirates of the island under his rule. Sathos San reigned for 30 years as king of the Basilisk Isles. A special thanks to all those who contribute to CivilizationEx, like the Drunken Master, Tim, Delacruz the Freed, and Daedry Dragonswit. If you'd like to help the channel, be sure to give a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and click on the links below, or else go to patreon.com/CivilizationEx, where you can gain early access to videos, vote on future content, and watch the Patreon-only series, Heroes of Lore and Legend.